After a near 15-year hiatus, the iconic Final Destination franchise is back, with Final Destination Bloodlines, the sixth entry in the series. Best known for its gruesome and shocking deaths, the series has racked up quite the body count. But which ones stand out from the rest and have stuck with me the most? Let's find out. Hello ladies and gentlemen, and movie lovers of all kind, and welcome back to the channel. As always, I am your host, Brett Murphy, and for today's video, I am going to be tier listing and ranking every Final Destination death. I'll be starting with the tier list, and then there will be a ranking at the end where I'll put them in order and have some kind of graphic up to show you worst to best. Before I hop into the actual video itself, I just wanted to let you all know that I have carefully curated playlists for every type of video I do. Whether it's ranking videos, top 10s versus videos, tier list videos, video essays, there is a playlist for all. So I encourage you to explore the channel, and I guarantee you'll find something you like. And if by some chance you don't, then feel free to suggest something you might like. And so without further ado, let's hop right into things. Alrighty folks, we're over here now on the computer. As you can see, we have our tier list in front of us. We have all of the characters' deaths, or at least the most accurate picture representation I could get of each one, and then you see our tiers along the side. You may notice that they are a little bit different. I haven't done one in a while, so if you're new here, essentially I just named them a little bit different just to make them a little more unique, but it's pretty much the same idea. So like your godlike replaces your S tier, awesome sauce replaces A, good as gold replaces B, quite alright replaces C, super meh replaces D, and then rock bottom replaces F. I will have a link to this one. I made it a public tier list, so if other people would like to do their own videos with them, or just do one for fun, or submit it somewhere on social media or whatever, or share it with their friends, by all means, absolutely go for it. 53 is how many I counted actually between all these movies, so from 53 to 1, I will have it marked. I will share that graphic at the end, but for now you can follow along. I will talk through my reasoning as to why each death ends up where it is, and then I will put them in order before having that final screenshot or whatever that has the final ranking. Obviously, I probably already put a spoiler warning here, but major spoiler warnings ahead, because I'm going to be talking about every death in every one of these movies, including the brand new Final Destination Bloodlines, so you will know which characters die, how they die, so on and so forth. Alright, first is the original bus hit, and in all honesty, as plain as it is, we're starting off with an A tier kill, or death. I guess I'll refer to them as deaths, not really kills. I'm gonna put this one in A tier for the simple fact that although this is so run its course already, is what I'm trying to say. Like, we're so used to this type of death. They've even replicated it in this series maybe multiple times. I know for sure in the fourth movie, if not multiple other times. So many other movies, shows, and everything do this, like last second bus or truck hit or whatever. It's nothing new, but at the time, it being the very first movie in what would go on to become a franchise, it being such an important character, although you could kind of see it coming, it still came out of nowhere. It was still pretty violent, especially that, like, blood splatter across all the other characters' faces, their stunned looks and everything like that. So, for it being the first movie and the first time that we really saw such, like, a visceral take on this kind of death, I think it does warrant being placed in that A tier. Of course, we have the last death of the movie now, and to be perfectly honest, oh god, I'll put it in C. I could have put it lower for the simple fact that what's implied is violent, is gruesome, is brutal, and I love the way that they ended the movie that way, because it's one of those things where, like, it's the Final Destination rules, right? Like, this person saved this person, it skips them, but the point is that it always comes back around. So he saved Alex, Alex is alive, then it's, oh, who's next? And then you see the sign falling, and the way it ends the movie, pretty awesome ending, but in terms of it being a death, it's like not graphic at all, to the point that you don't even see it. So I can't really justify putting it much higher, despite how it is actually a pretty awesome way to end a movie. The teacher's death, I think I'm gonna go B for this one. only because I loved how much misdirection there was in this death between, like, the fire starting and so many other things going on. Like, it was so chaotic, and you knew that Alex was trying to rush to the house to save her, and then in the end it ends up being her trying to save herself with a napkin, even though she's probably already screwed with how much blood she's already lost. And then she doesn't know, but we know that the cloth or whatever that she's trying to, the dish towel she's trying to pull down, is sitting on top of the knife block, pulls it down, the knives hit her, one just directly in the chest, the biggest one ever. The likelihood of that ever happening, unbelievably unlikely, but it's a cool death because of how much misdirection, how chaotic, and how just violent it ended up being in the very end. This one I am going to be counting as a death. It is the premonition, and although the main characters don't die, the plane does still blow up. It's something I probably should have mentioned already, but yes, I will be counting the premonitions because they're so damn cool, and they almost always end up happening anyway. Very rarely do these deaths get escaped. As far as I can recall, the accidents still happen, the deaths still occur, just not the main characters. For this first plane crash, we're going to godlike. It's iconic. For that simple reason, it ends up in the godlike tier. Such a phenomenal movie opening. It is pretty graphic, pretty violent, and the effects hold up mostly well despite the movie being like 25 years old. It's an explosive way, literally, to kick things off. The movie was named after it. It's so iconic. The whole franchise came after it, following it, stuck with the name. So I have to put it in godlike. I don't know how I couldn't. For Todd's, I'm going to go with Good as Gold. I love the death itself, the fact that it's like an indoor clothesline. I've never had one. I don't know if there's an actual technical term for them. But the fact that it's so violent, it wraps around his neck. They go to the lengths of like turning his eyes, bloodshot red, and the shampoo bottle's falling. He's slipping and falling, and he can't catch himself. It is a horrifying, disturbing way to go. But I always hated the build up to this death. It's the only time that one of the deaths that I can recall is like super overtly supernatural. Of course, there's other deaths where we see like the shutters close, where the door randomly closes, the window slams shut, stuff like that. But this one, you actually see like the dark shadowy figure pop up behind Todd, and then you see the water kind of coming and changing directions, and then it kind of gets like sucked back up. All that stuff has always pulled me out of the moment. So although for many people this is like an all-timer death, I always thought lesser of it, I guess is what I'm trying to say, because of all the setup and where that doesn't really happen in the rest of the series. So that's why it ends up in Good as Gold. The train head slice death, I'm going to put right next to it because it is, in terms of how violent and crazy and graphic and elaborate some of these deaths are, I can't really justify putting it too much higher because I also don't think it's as iconic as the bus hit or the plane crash. But the fact that it is so swift, I've always chuckled at it because it's like you think one guy is going to die, he gets saved at the last second, then the piece of metal just comes flying, and then what? Head gone. Awesome. And the use of practical effects was superb. So I think Good as Gold is good for this one. So really outside of the final death, because you don't actually see it happen, but you know he dies, outside of that, there's some pretty great deaths in the first Final Destination movie. Like, all in all, there's some really good shit in there. But we're moving on to Final Destination 2 now. In the first one, although it's a picture of clear, it is actually meant to signify the only way that we know that Alex, the main character of the first movie, has died. He died off screen in between movies by a falling brick. And though I'm kind of bouncing this around, it's definitely going in rock bottom. To kill the main character off like that, and for something so plain as a falling brick, obviously it could have been way more elaborate than that, but we never get to see it, so we actually have no idea how crazy or wild this death really ends up being. So I find it extremely hard to justify putting it really any higher than rock bottom because, you're killing a main character off screen in between movies. That sucks. The next one is the barbecue death that caps off Final Destination 2, and as controversial as this might be, I'm actually putting this in awesome sauce. for the sheer fact that it is so sudden. Obviously, we're still in this movie. Our characters aren't just going to live happily ever after and everything. We know that there's still something else coming, but we don't know what. And the last thing we would expect is that it's Mickey from Shameless. He's just like, they're at this family picnic. He just walks over. Oh yeah, go check the barbecue. Yep, okay. Gone to check the barbecue. Boom! And then just the body parts come raining down. It is shocking. It is violent. It is brutal. It is the last thing that you expect. It's the last person you expect to go out. Of course, unless you're paying very close attention. The elevator death, also absolutely iconic. Not quite godlike in my opinion, but iconic for sure. Just the simple fact that you get the shadow, and then it's like, oh, a man with hooks and stuff like that, and then it ends up like, and then she goes nuts. She's on the phone, and that is what causes her. That phone call is what causes her to be in this situation. So really, they caused it to happen, and then the head getting stuck. It is nightmare fuel. The crushing, the sound effects, then the head rolling, the body, all of it visceral, bloody, awesome. The fence slicer, honestly, even if some of the effects don't hold up super well, because they did use some green screen we've seen in the behind-the-scenes stuff, it is still a crazy death. I've never seen, like, a tri-slice, at least done like this. And the fact that there is still a use of good practical effects in there, where they did do, like, the chunks separate from the actual actor, who was just wearing, like, green from, like, the chest down, and then you still see, like, the intestines and stuff like that. The fact... the explosion, every single bit of this kill, death, whatever, I love it. So I'm definitely putting it in that godlike tier. I think it definitely deserves to be there. Good as gold for the fire escape, almost escape. Again, it's one of those that I love the misdirection. At first, it's like his hand is stuck, and then the fire starts, and then, you know, he's coming through broken glass, and then he falls, and you're like, oh shit, that hurt. He fell, his back first, bareback on a bunch of broken glass. You don't really know what's going to happen. Then it's the fake out of the ladder, and then it stops, and you're like, oh, okay, is this guy going to live? Is he going to die some other way? Is he going to get run over? What's going to happen? And then the ladder just falls anyway, and right into his eye. That is awesome. I've always loved that one. The next one is the glass pane falling, and honestly, I've seen some tier lists putting this one pretty low. It's going in awesome sauce for me, which I don't know if that's like a wild card pick for some people, but in my humble opinion, it being a kid and the use of practical effects and how violent it is what's going to put it in awesome sauce for me. It's like, you see it coming, you know he's going to scare the pigeons, you know this kid's going to die, he's already cheated death a couple times in the movie, and then, like, the picture that I use, you can see, like, just the dummy crumpling, the blood goes everywhere. That is some sick, sadistic shit, and I love it. This one, the hospital explosion, look, I know some people enjoy this one. I don't, for the simple fact that it kills off the one surviving character from the first movie and the other character in a simple explosion. I like how obviously it's kind of supernaturally caused, and it's not just like a sudden explosion that comes out of nowhere, but the fact that you have such an important character killed off so unceremoniously, and the other character who we thought was going to live, and then it's just like a typical explosion. Like, these movies, they make their buck off of these weird, creative, incredibly violent deaths, and outside of the crisp dummy flying at the camera, which was completely accidental if you watch any of the behind-the-scenes stuff, it just worked out in their favor extraordinarily. Outside of that shot, I really don't like this death because of how just run-of-the-mill it is. Like, it's just a typical explosion, and then, like, that's it. One of the main characters from both movies is just gone in a snap. Next up is the death of all of Kimberly's friends. I'll put it in quite alright. It's a tough one because in terms of the story, I think it's a great set of deaths because the movie opening almost sets up that we're going to be following these characters, even though if you're familiar with the franchise, if you're watching it for the first time, you know that it's everyone that would have died, I guess including her friends. Those are the ones we're going to follow, so you don't really know for sure if we're going to follow these characters, but I'm sure a lot of audience members, when first seeing this movie for the first time, would have assumed that we were going to be following this group of friends throughout the movie. So then the fact that the log truck explosion happens down the highway and our characters think they're safe and everything is all hunky-dory, and then boom, they just get smashed and killed all of a sudden, it's pretty shocking, but it's just the fact that, like, I feel nothing for these characters. And again, it's another one of those simple, it's like the bus hit, only this time it hits a truck. So it's shocking. It's cool that some people probably thought these were the main characters of the movie and then poof, they're gone. But because we don't know them at all, and even when we do know them, they're so shallow, they're so one note, I didn't really care for them dying, but I do like the shock value of it. After that, of course, we have the log truck opening, and obviously that's going in godlike. I would say it's every bit as iconic as the opening plane explosion in the first movie, if not even more iconic. They are still using the log trucks to market this movie. I have been seeing trucks driving around with Final Destination Bloodlines, and it's like a fake log truck or an actual log truck with one behind it, because of how iconic this opening is, because it was probably a relatively irrational fear at the time the movie was released, whereas a plane crash was still very much so a real fear. The log truck opening, man oh man, the use of practical effects in this, the mix of old school CGI that holds up really well, the explosions, the car flips, the blood and gore, and man, it's so damn good. This one, I don't remember if this comes in, I believe it comes in the third movie, but I'm including it in the second movie because, again, we get main characters, boop, dying off screen. It's just a newspaper clipping that shows that these characters still died, even though they followed death's rules, they thought they beat it. In the end, they just end up succumbing to some kind of crazy accident in between movies, and that kind of sucks. Next is the PVC pipe, and in all honesty, this one is also going into godlike. Some people might disagree, but shit, dude, like, Final Destination 2 has some phenomenal kills. And this one, the fact that she didn't die in the initial crash, then she's just like chilling, she's lighting her cigarette, and then she's just going back to being like her snarky self, like, can you keep it down? And then the firefighter just kind of mockingly is like, oh yeah, I'll be sure to turn it on quiet mode. Hits it, boom, airbag, and then the aftermath with the pipe, like the sharp pipe right through the head. That is what Final Destination movies are all about. That is what we come to see. Those crazy, shocking, unexpected, disgusting deaths. And this one is one of the best, if you ask me. Now we're moving into the third one, and our first one is the engine back of the head hit. I'll put that one in good as gold. For the mere fact that, like, it's pretty graphic. I don't think it's the craziest, most out there death. I think it did definitely strike fear into some people who now probably have an irrational fear of being stuck in a drive-thru. I heard that the writer or director, whoever it was, wanted this type of kill in there because he had a similar experience one time that obviously didn't end as graphically, but he was stuck in a drive-thru, trapped, saw a big truck speeding up behind him, and he was like, oh god, what if this hits me? That spawned this death being included in the movie. It's pretty graphic, and I enjoy it for that particular reason. Next is the falling sign death. This one also, I feel like if... I have reasons for disliking these bottom three, so I'll put it in quite alright. Only because, as underwhelming as it is, like, oh no, the character's safe, oh wait, no, the sign fell and crushed him, it is bloody, and I do love the kind of dark comedic element at the end where it's just like his hand left and it's twitching a little bit and he's like flipping off the camera and stuff like that. I do like that part. So I think I'll put it up a little bit higher for that reason. The flagpole death, it's not as big of a smack in the face as characters dying off screen, so I'll put it next to the fire explosion one. Because we have so many through the back flagpole deaths or swords or whatever. Like, we have so many through the back deaths in movies that when this one came, it doesn't feel very Final Destination-y. We get these in movies and shows and games and everything so often that I think I've just become so desensitized to it and I don't really care much for it. The nail gun death next, I think I'm going to put this one in awesome sauce because of how graphic it is. The likelihood of it happening, not that crazy, but the fact that they had the foresight and they made the decision to have, like, it hit the back of the head and the hand and go through the hand and the arm and the head and stuff like that, that's pretty messed up, and I enjoy how, like, just really shocking it is. And whoever it is, I can't remember if it's her boyfriend or her partner or just some guy, but the fact that he just sits there helplessly watching her get nail guns shot, like, or nail gun, sorry, shooting through the back of her head, it's graphic, and for that, I love it. Next up is the roller coaster opening, and that is also going into godlike. I don't know if it's quite as iconic as the plane crash, and especially as the log truck opening, but again, these first three movies, they hit such a good note with these openings by diving into these fears. Like, so many people are terrified of roller coasters, and even though they're told so many times that, like, oh, this thing goes around 500 times a day, and it couldn't be more safe, and it's inspected every 12 hours, and whatever else, you know, like, people tell you that you couldn't be safer than you are on a roller coaster or whatever, that these accidents are 1 in a billion, but then this movie opens with just the most absurd, over-the-top roller coaster accident you can possibly imagine, and it's sick and twisted, and I love it. It's part of the reason that I'm still terrified of roller coasters. I'll go on a few, but some of them, man, I look at and I'm like, I don't know. I don't want to get Final Destination 3 today. And to be honest, I'm going to put this in awesome sauce, as much as some people might not care a whole lot for it. My reasoning is that this is by far, at least in my humble opinion, the best ending to one of these movies. I don't know, obviously there's a little twist ending we'll be talking about soon, but in terms of, like, actual graphic, shocking, brutal, I know I'm using these words a lot, but it's Final Destination. This one really does it well. Like, of course, yes, you have the sign hit, but it cuts away at the end of the first one. The barbecue explosion, but it's not an important character. The fourth movie's one sucks. I'll say that flat out. That's coming up at some point. It's garbage. It's going towards the bottom, if not the bottom. The fifth one, of course, has the twist, but it's something we've seen before, and I actually didn't love the one that they did in Bloodlines. I thought it was a bit cheap, a bit cheesy, but not this Subway one, man. This comes out of nowhere, and it is incredibly well done. I really enjoy the Subway ending. I think it's the best ending of the series. Yeah, it's been almost, 20 years since this movie came out, and I think they have yet to top it. After that, we have the sunbed deaths. I only have one character picture here, but you know the one I'm talking about. Starts off a little cheeky, of course. I mean, the producer, I watched the most recent interview with him talking about all the deaths in the series, and he's like, oh yeah, it's about, like, making them feel so exposed and so vulnerable, but, like, you know, they just wanted some boobies in their movie. It turns disgustingly obscene quickly. These two women just start melting to death in the tanning beds. And then it has one of cinema history's greatest smash cuts from the overhead shot of the two tanning beds, smash cut to the two coffins. Brilliant stuff. And then, of course, the final one for Final Destination 3 is going into awesome sauce as well. It's the weight kill. I just love, again, I love a good misdirection in these movies. You'll notice that, like, the plain, simple deaths, for the most part, I don't really care for. I like to be surprised. I like to be kept guessing. So, like, this happens, that happens, especially the swords falling. We think that he's okay. We think that he's safe. He doesn't want to listen. He's cocky. He's arrogant. He pushes his equipment ahead again. He pushes the gym machine, and then boom! Head smash, blood, guts, head, brain everywhere. It's wicked. I love that one. This one, the ambulance hit, is going into rock bottom. It's not an off-screen death, but it's just a direct carbon copy of the one in the first movie that was done so much better, if you ask me. Plus the plain and simple fact that I don't like Final Destination 4, or The Final Destination. It is actually one of my least favorite movies ever. I think it is terribly made, filled with cheap CGI and gimmicky 3D effects. And it's almost like just trying to be a best of. There's like a couple moments that are like, alright, I'll give you that one. That's okay. But this one, man, this felt so cheap, so cheesy. It's like they were trying to, wink, wink, nudge, nudge the audience the whole way through. And this one was the worst offender of it. Next is the bathtub death. That one's going in super meh. I mean, it's a shitty way to go out, but you know it's coming from a mile away. The guy can barely move. He's crawling around. You see the old man upstairs in his little splash bath. It falls and crushes him. Like, whoop-de-doo. Like, yeah, I wouldn't want to go out that way, but for a Final Destination death, I think they could have done a little bit better. The fence slice. Some people are going to hate it. I'm also putting it in super meh. The only reason I'm putting it in Superman and not rock bottom is because I just like the creativity behind it. Like, he almost gets crushed by the truck or whatever it is, but it's so dumb. Like, that's why it ends up in Superman. Like, it's creative as hell, but it's so unbelievably stupid. Like, the propane tank hits him, carries him, and hits him so hard against, like, a regular old fence that he gets pushed through it like Play-Doh. Like, how does that even happen? It doesn't make sense in any way, shape, or form. So many of these deaths are crazy, absurd. You can see there's supernatural elements at play. Nothing about this screams any of that. And then they have these, like, cheap, again, gimmicky 3D effects and terrible CGI, like pushing the guts through the fence. It's just really, really poorly put together. And I just don't care very much for it, to be honest. The mall explosion, I'll put it in good as gold. As much as it pains me to do it, it has good moments. Like, it would absolutely suck to be seeing a movie in theaters and then have an explosion go off behind the screen that sends a bunch of shrapnel into your face and stuff. So it has its moments. This is like the only sequence in the movie that actually has its moments. The rest, eh. So, yeah, I'll put it in good as gold, but that's the best that Final Destination 4 is going to get. Only because it's got some okay stuff sprinkled throughout that kind of final premonition act thing. I kind of like the double fake out and stuff like that, but, you know, other than that, again, it comes down to those bad 3D effects, the terrible gore because it's all CGI and everything. The pool death is fine. I mean, it's terrifying to think that a pool, whatever it is, jet would all of a sudden, like, invert and start sucking things in, and those things being your insides. I like the ending of the death, but because I don't care for the character, because it's just plain, like, that's what it is. Like, oh yeah, okay, like, it's a malfunction technicality thing, and then Buddy gets sucked to the bottom of the pool. But again, when you're comparing it to some of the wild deaths that are in these movies, I don't think it's all that great. Good, not great, I'll say. The opening NASCAR, it could have been great. This could have actually been a phenomenal opening if you ask me. But again, those effects, those terrible CGI and 3D effects pull me out of it. Like the engine hit that crushes the girl, I saw the behind the scenes. They did try to do some practical in there, but it just gets bogged down and marred by this god-awful CGI and the over-reliance on these bad 3D effects. The stone kill I'll also put next to it. It's the one-liner. I hate the one-liner. The one-liner that I've got my eye on you. Like, it's so poorly delivered. It's so, like, again, it's another instance of this movie wink, wink, nudge, nudging its audience to death. It's terrifying, and that's why it'll end up in quite alright, because there have been times that I've made sure to, like, take out rocks and little things like that out of my lawn before mowing it, or before someone comes to mow it, or I'm scared when I'm walking by that someone mowing their lawn is going to pick up a rock and it's going to rocket into my face, or hit me in the neck, or even my legs or anything. So I like that they pulled on that fear and that anxiety, and I think it's a pretty cool way to do it, but it's the delivery, it's the setup, and none of that works for me. The tire hit, I'll also put next to it. Quite alright, because same thing, it could have been epic, and this might actually go up a little bit. You know what, I will bump this up a little bit higher, only because of the final shot after. I like that the audience sees the tire coming and stuff and then smack, but the shitty CGI effects, again, pulls me out of it. But then you see the gross twitching body afterwards and the sounds, and then they use practical there, so that kind of wins me over and gets me to bump it up a little bit more. The tow truck drag, I don't care much for it. I don't see anything special about it, if I'm being completely honest. I think it's fine. The character's a piece of shit. You just want to see him go out anyway. I know that was the point. Again, in a similar interview with the producer, he says, what if we had a character that we hated and that we couldn't wait to see die? But for all the crazy deaths that some of these characters, some of these actual, like, good, honest people have succumbed to, some of the deaths that have taken them throughout the series, to have this garbage human go out like this is not all that exciting. It's not all that rewarding. You don't really feel much when it happens, so I'm gonna have to leave that there in the Superman tier. And then we have the truck death, and this is also going in rock bottom. Some people enjoy the credits. I think the credits are kind of cool. Like, I like the idea of what they were going for, but the fact that it kind of just teased us, it played the middle ground where it was like, We get something like the subway sequence the time before, and it's brutal and shocking, and then we get the one after it with the twist ending in 5, and it's kind of sandwiched in the middle where it's like you're teased, but before it can cut away like the first movie, or before it can show you how graphic it could really get like the second, third, fifth Bloodlines 2, really, it cuts away to these, again, like CGI skeleton effects and stuff like that. So because of what a slap in the face it feels like, and how it might have almost saved portions of the movie for me if they just, like, brutally killed off these characters in the end with a crazy truck hit, it might have been bumped up a little bit, but the fact that it just felt like such a cop-out really bugs me. Now we have the bridge collapse, and in all honesty, I'll put it in awesome sauce. I did want to put it in godlike, but the reason I'm not is because I think there are some cheap deaths in here upon rewatch, like very recent rewatch before the new one and everything. There are some great deaths in here that aren't just like people falling, but there are some that I'm like, like you get one character that gets trapped in the bus and hit by the water. I don't know the likelihood of survival, but if the other person landed in the water and survived, then maybe that guy could have survived too. The other one, she lands in the water, she's fine, then the car comes and hits her. There's some good ones in here, though, like Buddy getting hit by, like, the broken cable, even if it is a little too quick for my liking. And then you get the one where, like, the giant metal pole things come and fly and smash through that one character. He falls to his death. You get the ending death, too. My favorite one is when, like, the boss gets, like, the black tar, you know, molten tar splashed all over him. Like, there are some creative elements in there, but then there are also a lot of just kind of, like, cheap deaths where it's just people in cars falling or falling into the water and stuff like that. So... but I do think it's a real fear that a lot of people have. A lot of people don't like bridges. They don't like open water, driving above open water. So I think that was another one that was really good to lean into, and it makes for a memorable opening, but I just think they could have done more with it, even if it does look phenomenal, by the way. Like, the CGI and practical in that sequence is exceptional, I'll be honest. The Fallen Buddha death, I'll put that one also in good as gold. The reason being that I love the setup. There's like 3 different times that you think this guy's gonna die, and this is a time that I think the filmmakers learned from the previous entry, where this guy is like, he's just a sweaty meatball, he's a horn dog, he's just not a nice dude, so you want to see him go out in a violent way, like some of the characters that don't deserve to go out in a violent way do go out. And then the fourth one, we had like the cheap tow truck fire gag that I didn't care for, but this guy, he gets put through the ringer, and I love it. I love how they're setting up like the acupuncture, then he falls, all the acupuncture needles are in him, but then he gets back up and he's okay and he's alive, and then you think he's going to be set on fire and burned alive, and then he's not, and then he trips and falls, and then the Buddha crushes his head and he finally goes. So I love the misdirection in that one. I love the build up. I don't think that the Buddha hit was as good as it could have been. Again, I really would have preferred if they went with a practical one, and the CGI is kind of what takes me out of it a little bit. But I do like that they did make this guy suffer, because he definitely deserved to. The end death. I'm iffy on it because, again, it's like fully CGI, but I do like the goofy gag with the hand flying at the camera, and it has like the 5, or I guess it's just a hand, but it looks like it's going to be a 5 for Final Destination 5. But again, it just seems like a cheap kind of cop-out last-second death, and it doesn't hit as good because you know it's coming, whereas like with the barbecue one, you had no idea who was going to bite the dust. The subway one is epic. And then you have this one where it's like, you know it's coming. It's just like, we know the plane exploded, and then we're just like cutting back to this guy. We know something's going to happen, and then it smashes through, and it looks like it only lands on just him and kills just him. So that's a little bit absurd. The CGI effects aren't great, but I do like the flying hand gag, so I'll put that one there. The gymnastics one, for the simple fact that although it is incredibly unrealistic, like, I've seen gymnasts fall like this and from higher heights and things like that and have done, you know, sustained some pretty serious injuries, but that's not gonna happen. Like, you know, at most, maybe you break something, maybe you sprain something, maybe you're seriously injured. At the very worst, might end up paralyzed or something, but the fact that it's like her whole spine rips out and like her femurs snap out and things like that, like, I love how graphic it is, but it is so ridiculously unrealistic. So I'm trying to balance it out a little bit here, but I'd be lying if I said I didn't love this one, and it's probably the best one of the 5th movie. The hook death for Roy, I'll put it there. It's kind of almost like a fake cop-out. And I kind of liked that, how it was like, oh, they're arguing, they're fighting, and then, oh, maybe he's going to save him, and then, oh, he landed, he's fine, he was going to land on these, like, spiky things coming up from the ground, and then we see the blood dripping, and then it cuts to the hook being right through his head. But the fact that it was just, like, a garbage character, one you didn't really care for, not anyone you were really connected with, though I like how they kind of kept faking us out, and then we ended up here, it's just, I feel like it lacks a bit of punch outside of just the graphic nature of the death itself. Then we have the detective's death, and I'm sorry, for all the deaths in these movies, man, and for them to finally bring back the detective investigative aspect that I've always enjoyed about these movies, the fact that he goes out with a few simple shots through the back kind of pisses me off. It's a pretty basic way to go out. So that one's going to end up there. Then we have the laser eye surgery death. I think I will go... this is a tougher one to do. I'll go with Awesome Sauce only because I think this terrified a lot of people away from getting their laser eye surgery, and I think they do a pretty good job at showcasing just how powerful the laser is. I'm not sure if that's actually how it is, but the fact that it's like going through her eye, then all over her face and all over her hand and stuff like that. I don't love the way the death ends where she like trips and then falls through what is likely reinforced glass, but she falls through it like it's, I don't know, tinfoil or something. Like she just trips a little bit, like it's not even she was running at top speed or anything like that, just trips and then smashes through. But it's the graphic nature of the laser eye surgery. Even if I don't love when these kills are super set up, like I prefer when they keep you guessing, like some of the other deaths in FD5. This one was obvious from the beginning, but it's still super visceral, super graphic, and then even in the end, even though I don't like the trip and fall, like slapstick like gag, the fact that we get the camera in the car that's on the ground and see the hit on the window shield and stuff, I think would bump it back up a little bit for me. Then we have the plane death again, and Awesome Sauce. Even though the visuals are better in this one, obviously, like they had 11 years to work on getting this just right. I think it looks better, obviously, than the original death, and you see much more of the plane, because the first one just has like the inside of the plane and then the distant shot of the explosion and stuff. This one you get a lot more close-ups, a lot more CGI and stuff, and the shock of the twist ending of Final Destination 5 actually being a prequel to the original Final Destination, I think that is wicked. I think that's phenomenal, actually. It's one of my favorite twist endings possibly ever. It's pretty crazy. But it's the fact that it's just like been there, done that. Like it doesn't really show us anything new aside from some, like, you know, again, updated CGI, updated visuals, getting to see the plane a bit closer and stuff like that. But we've already had the plane crash in this series. So aside from it being an epic twist ending, it feels very been there, done that, just with some flashier visuals. This final death here, too, with the rotisserie skewer or whatever it is, again, it's like the flagpole. It's another one of those behind or through the back stabs. He's about to kill the main love interest of the movie. We know she's not going to die. She's not going to go out like this. She's not going to get two murders back-to-back in a Final Destination movie. But the fact that it's just another one of these through the back deaths kind of sucks, I'll be honest, but it's the fact that it wasn't just one like the flagpole death. It's the fact that this bad boy has like 5 or 6 different points to it, and we get all of them going through Buddy, and it kind of mirrors his death that happens in the premonition, so I still like that aspect of it. It's pretty violent, so I guess I'll give it that. Next up, we have the building explosion that kicks off Final Destination Bloodlines, and if I'm being completely honest, that one for me is on par with the initial original plane explosion and the log truck. I'm sure many can probably resonate with this, but like I am someone who has a fear of heights. I'm someone who doesn't like super tall buildings. I'm someone who gets that weird, like off balance, kind of wobbly feeling when you're up at those incredibly high heights. So the fact that they brought that to life and the visuals actually look insanely good. Like this movie had some budget behind it. And the fact that there's so many elements. You have like the glass floor breaking, and then you have people falling and getting crushed. Well, people falling traditionally, getting hit by like parts of the building and splatting against the ground. Then you have people that are getting crushed from like the ceiling falling and caving in, different parts of the structure falling apart. Then there's an explosion. There's just so many different elements at play here, and I love how they brought all of it together seamlessly. It feels like one brilliant, coherent sequence with a lot of graphic deaths, a lot of really messed up shit in it. Some of it is very darkly humorous, which I appreciated too, like that little shit who threw the penny gets his comeuppance at the end. I think all that is great. And it's a pretty memorable opening in my mind, and it's up there with some of the best openings of the franchise. Then we get Darlene, the mother's death. To be honest, I'll put her in quite alright. I could have put her a bit lower. I can't really justify putting her much higher. Again, it's one of those quick, like, cut, slapstick almost deaths, where it's like, if you watch the trailer, actually, I noticed that her death was supposed to be different originally, where in the trailer you see her getting crushed by the revolving door. I get why they kept her around, though, because that happens at the midway point or so of the movie. They obviously want to keep her around to get that redemption with her children and stuff like that. And then you think she survived the explosion just for her to be crushed by a sign or a light or whatever it is. So again, it feels like another one of those quick cop-out, cheap deaths. Although it did kind of make me chuckle because she says something to the tune of, like, I'm always going to be here for as long as I live. And I think before she even gets live out, she's crushed. So it's pretty brutal, and that's why it gets bumped up a bit higher than the other, like, falling sign death. Well, at least when I do the ranking, it will be. But I think they could have done a bit more with that character and her death. The ending scene to Bloodlines, super meh. A lot of people might disagree with this one. To me, it felt too abrupt and felt too wink wink nudge nudgy. It was like the filmmakers were like pointing and laughing at us like, ah, yeah, you guys, you like that, don't you? You remember the log truck? Well, guess what? Logs. And then they just did it again. And for me, like, I would have preferred if the train hit them. If the train would have wiped them out or something like that. Like, that to me, a big train explosion to end the movie, cool. But then they survived just to give us the logs and stuff like that. That's when I was like, oh, okay, come on. Like, it felt a bit too, like, the filmmakers were trying to pull off this big joke. And to me, it felt a little too purposeful. It just felt too gimmicky to me. So I didn't love that ending. The rest of the death in the movie, though, pretty damn good. The grandma dying, although we saw it coming, and she saw it coming too. Well, I guess she didn't because she was looking the opposite direction, but the graphic nature of that death with the sign flying through and, like, splattering her face and sending her face, like, wide open with the jaw hanging and stuff, I loved that shit. I thought that was epic. I adored the way they opened that. I thought it was sick and twisted, and I thought it was amazing. Couldn't find one for the trash compactor death, but you know the character goes, and I am putting that one in awesome sauce because that one was a bloody good time. The character didn't even deserve it. And the fact that it was, and as messed up as it sounds, but she was like pleading and she was like, oh, you get me out of here. And the guys, they stopped the dump truck, like, oh, my sister's in there. And then our main character is trying to save her and stuff. Just as she's starting to get her out, then the trash compactor starts to just slowly squeeze and, like, pop her head and her arm off and everything. It was a damn bloody good time. I loved that death. The lawnmower death. A lot of people love it, and I love it, but it has to get bumped down. If I didn't see it coming, I would have probably put it in awesome sauce because it is extremely graphic and gruesome, but this is like the death, aside from the tower building explosion, that they heavily marketed. The one that we knew was coming from a mile away. I'm pretty sure, like, the second trailer, that it's this whole scene. It's because you have the teaser with the glass, the broken glass in the ice, and then the full trailer comes out, and it's that whole scene. It's the broken glass, they brush it into the ice goes in the glass with the drink spills, steps on a trampoline, breaks, blah, 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 lawnmower to the head. And then they cut away to the rest of the trailer, like, they showed you the entire thing. So if it came as more of a surprise, it would have been that much more impactful, it would have hit a lot harder, and I probably would have put it up higher. But the fact that they choreographed it so much, and they showed the audience way before the movie released, is making me bump it down just a little bit, unfortunately. Now, the best character in the movie's death is definitely going in awesome sauce because of how well he performed here, showing that pain, pleading for his life, not wanting to die, doing whatever he could to try and stop it. I never thought of an MRI machine death. Like, I never thought we'd ever see that. And then it goes that much further by first pulling out, like, his nose ring, his ear rings, then his nipple rings, and then it looks like he's got a wiener ring too, and then he gets hit, and I thought he was just going to be crushed by the wheelchair, but then the wheelchair starts to pull through him and sends him in half. Like, it is so messed up, and it was so well put together, and even though a lot of it is CGI, the graphic nature of that kill, the fact that he was a fan favorite character, probably the favorite character for a lot of people, makes me want to put that even higher. So I think Awesome Sauce is pretty befitting of it. The Spring Death, it's fine. You think that he's going to die. Well, you know he's going to die. I thought it was going to be something to do with the vending machine. I thought maybe the vending machine was going to crush him like the warning sign. Instead, the spring comes flying through, goes through his head. I think the spring hit is great, but coming right after the MRI death, you almost expected it to somehow be even bigger and crazier. So the fact that it's just like a simple spring to the head, which is just like any traditional action movie, like shot to the head or something like that. After all the other deaths we got in the movie that were so graphic and so disgustingly awesome, this one was a bit of a letdown. And then the one I missed earlier for the Final Destination 5 death of the wrench to the head, I'll put that in quite alright also. I think the death is another one that, like, it does nothing to shock you, does nothing to make you guess or anything like that. Like, you see the wrench put down, you know it's going to come into play, and then it's like half a second, like, you see the machine spinning, you see the wrench wobbling, you know it's coming, but the fact that you see the aftermath with the practical effects, I love that shot. That's why I have that shot, even though I tried to stay away from a lot of the graphic material in the video, so, like, it doesn't get demonetized or anything like that, which I certainly hope it doesn't. The fact that it cuts to the practical effects of the wrench, like, through his head and everything, I think the practical effects shot is incredible. So that's why I'll bump that one up a little bit more, even though it is a very basic kill. Alright, and now for the ranking. So the one where the original plane crash is right here at the very tippy top, that is our number 1. And again, I'll have a graphic at the end that shows all this. And then the one right here where he shot through the back that is our number 53. Because yes, we have 53 different deaths that we chatted about in this video today. I'm going to just try my best. I'm going with gut feeling here right off the hop. What I think is the best death or deaths in these movies. And you're just going to see me live rank it, folks. Like, I might look back on this and be like, you're such an idiot. How could you not put that number 1? But that's a risk I'm willing to take. For me, looking at everything I have in front of me right now, I think number 1 is going to have to be the log truck. I think it's one of the most iconic movie openings ever, and the fact that there's so much, like, you get explosions, you get car flips, you get people getting crushed, you get them getting hit by logs, you get people who you're really not expecting to die, dying. So I think the log truck has to go to number 1. But then it comes down to what comes after that. I think the tanning bed deaths I'll put after that because the smash cut is so epic. I kind of like the fence slicer there. And I might keep the fence slicer there. And I might move this here. I don't know if it's as good as the roller coaster deaths. I think I'll leave it like that. Nah, I don't think I can say that's better than the plane. This probably isn't better than the plane either. I think I'll do it that way. So I think I like that for my top. What is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like 8, 7, 8, whatever's here. Log truck, tanning beds, plane, tri-slice, PVC, roller coaster, building, and then gymnastics. I think that's a pretty solid top 7 right there. Coming to these next few, man, it's going to be tough not to put some of these Bloodline ones up top because, like, could be some recency bias here, but they're pretty damn graphic. I think I will put the MRI kill as our next at number 8, and then the compost one, I think I'll put there. I think there's a good chance. I will leave the plane crash there because although I love the twist ending, it is very much so a been there, done that. So it does make it tough to justify putting it any higher than some of these really, really solid deaths. The bus hit I'll put there because, again, the bus hit, it's pretty plain. I'm sure we've seen it in a million movies before it takes place in this movie. But it's the first one of the franchise, and I think a lot of people didn't expect it when the movie first came out. The bridge collapse is also going up pretty high because I do like that bridge collapse a lot. Nail gun's got to be higher. The barbecue explosion I'll probably put second last. The eye one, only because as much as I love the laser section of it, I don't like the falling out the window section, and I don't like how obvious it was. The subway, just because it cuts away before the final one. Head in the elevator, that's pretty messed up. That one I think will stay there. I think nail gun would go next. Then glass pane, then that. I think I like where that is there. I think I like that section the way it is. Damn, this is way tougher than I thought it was going to be with some of these deaths, man. It is weird because I'm just ranking these disturbing, messed up deaths from these horror movies, but, like, yeah, it's definitely an interesting list to be doing. After that, come down to good as gold. I probably could have started from the bottom and did worst to best, best to worst, but whatever. We're going to work our way down because this is where we already are, and it's easier to bump stuff down than to put it over other stuff. Last place... I think I'll have to put... Damn, this one's the toughest one. I'll put Todd first because I know there's a lot of Todd death fans. Even though I don't love the shadowy figure and I don't love the water being, like, sucked back up into the toilet, it's a terrible, terrifying way to go out. There's no denying that. I think I'll put the engine hit at the end. The lawnmower hit is better than some of these other deaths. I will say that for sure. Even if it was shown to us beforehand, which I really don't think it should have been, it still is incredibly graphic, and seeing, like, the family's reaction and stuff like that is pretty messed up. The head slice, although good in the practical, it's, like, super basic compared to some of these really graphic ones. The tire hit, I like the aftermath of it, but the rest isn't great. The ladder hit, I probably actually like that less than the tire hit because the practical body shown afterwards makes the tire hit a little bit better. I'll leave the mall one here. This one, it's kind of stupid, but I also kind of love it. I think I'll put it there. And that's kind of what I'm thinking for the good as gold one. Yeah, that's a tougher one too. That was a tougher one to do for sure. Alright, now we're at these ones. I'm going to put the sign at the end, I think. The spring, meh, pretty graphic. I'll put the other sign one, like, right next to it. I don't like these falling sign deaths. Because this one ends the movie and it came as a shock to a lot of people, I think it should automatically be above the other ones. The wrench hit, pretty good. Although the chicken skewer or rotisserie skewer, whatever the hell that one is, the eye on you, the gimmicky shitty line pulls me out of it, but it's pretty messed up. Then I'll probably go with the pool suction. The wrench one, I just love the practical shot at the end, which makes me really want to put that one higher. The Friends, the Friends death. Probably behind that one. Just above the others. Only because the shock of a lot of people probably feeling that these characters were going to be the main characters of the movie. I might even stick that one in between the two sign deaths. The NASCAR race, the cheap, shitty effects make it kind of suck. But it's still pretty cool. I might honestly put the spring death ahead of these ones, because the spring hit was pretty sick, so... Yeah, I think I'm going to do that, if it'll ever actually work. I'll put that one there. And then we're into super meh. These ones, from this point on, they all kind of suck. The explosion I'll put in last, because it almost ended up in rock bottom anyway. The flag hit I'll put there. This final shot, the tow truck one, probably after that. The fence slice, probably there, because it's super unrealistic and pretty shitty, even if it is a cool idea and creatively executed. The bath hit, probably even lesser because it's way more basic. Yeah, I guess I'll put that there. I mean, this one, like, the final shots of Bloodlines, it does still look pretty good, even if it doesn't hit with me. It does feel gimmicky and cheap. Then we're down to rock bottom, and we'll put that one there because it's an off-screen death of the main character. We'll put that one there because it's off-screen. The truck hit, the truck hit because I guess that's pretty cool. The ambulance hit, that one there, because shot through the back is pretty damn basic for a Final Destination movie. The ambulance hit is pretty basic, and although I don't love the truck hit ending, I do think that the end credits they did were pretty cool. So I think that's it. Again, that was just done off the top of my head, right off the cuff. I might look back on this in like 2 hours' time and be like, you're such an idiot. Why'd you do it that way? But that's my final list. I should have a graphic up for you already. If not, I'll have it up now, where I do have the numbers on them or over them, just so you can see it, so you don't have to count yourself to see which one ends up where, if you want to like compare our lists or anything like that. Again, I will have this linked in the description if you want to do it yourself, if you want to share it with me or anyone else on social media, if you want to share it with friends who like to do tier lists or anything like that, or if you just, are interested for whatever reason. But I think that's it for me. On this section, you have where each death ends up, which tier each death ends up in, plus my full final ranking. So that is all for today's video, folks. Be sure to let me know down in the comments below if you agree or disagree with my ranking. While you're at it, don't forget to let me know how you would rank every Final Destination death. What tier would you put each one into? Which one is your absolute favorite? Which one is your least favorite? And of course, what did you think of the recently released Final Destination Bloodlines? As a reminder, this is the revamped BAM2 movies, and it is your one-stop for everything movies. Be it ranking or tier list videos like this one, video essays, top 10s, or versus videos. I have it all and so much more, along with your daily nerdy news wrap-ups, where I keep you up to date on everything movies, gaming, and TV related. So be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and ring that little bell icon so you don't miss a thing. As always, folks, I thank you all so very much for watching. Stay happy, healthy, and safe out there. From myself and the rest of the BAMTube team, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time, and that's a wrap.